Okay, everybody on YouTube watching this right now, probably not like right now, but you're watching it right now, but you're not watching me live, you're going to be watching it later. But when you're watching this, you're going to be filled with knowledge of the SEC, okay? First I'm going to talk about the SEC Conference Championship and the Georgia Dome, okay? Y'all already knows who's going to be playing in that, probably, but just in case you didn't, representing the East, we have Missouri. Representing the West, we have Alabama. I'm going to talk about this game. I really could not find really anything good about this game. I'm just going to tell you straight up how it's going to be. Okay. Alabama's going to come off to a real fast start. Okay. And Missouri's going to slow them down just a little bit, but not enough. And Alabama's just going to keep on rolling over them, and they're going to beat Missouri. It might be within 15 points. No less. At the least, they're going to win by only like 7 points. At the most, they're going to win by 20, 28. That's how it's going to be. Alabama's going to roll over them easily, and they're going to stay ranked number one. And I'm also going to talk about the ACC championship. So, in the ACC championship, we have Florida State versus Georgia Tech. Florida State, they cannot handle the triple option with just Georgia Tech. It's hard to stop that. And Florida State, they haven't been able to stop anything this year. They just keep getting lucky, and they're undefeated somehow. And once they lose to Georgia Tech, they're going to drop back in the rankings. They're only going to drop back to like number 8, though, because that's the way I see it, because there's going to be a lot of people losing. Okay, so Florida State, they're going to get in there. They're going to come off to a slow start, which is fast for them. But they're going to come in. They're going to start off slow. Georgia Tech's just going to keep running it up there. They're going to triple option it everywhere. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to do everything. And they're going to beat Florida State by 7. At the least 3, at the most 14. Maybe 21. And that's the way I see it. Florida State getting kicked out of the playoffs, the Final Four. Speaking about the Final Four, I'm going to tell you who's going to be in it after all this stuff is happening. I got Bama sitting there at number 1. Everybody knows why. They've only lost 1 game to Ole Miss. And Ole Miss just took out Mississippi State the other night. And that looks better for Bama. It makes their schedule look tougher. Or worse, because Mississippi, I don't know. Anyway, they're going to be sitting there at number 1. And number 2, we're going to have Bama over here playing number 1. We're going to have TCU over here at number 2. And we're going to have Baylor at number 3, right below them. So TCU's going to play Baylor. And then Alabama will play Ohio State, which Ohio State's number 4. Now, if Ohio State loses to whoever they're playing, then it'll be Arizona up there, because Arizona is going to beat Oregon, and that is why Oregon is not in the Final Four. So, Arizona or Ohio State, because I don't think the committee is going to like Ohio State starting their third-string quarterback. Because if I was in the committee, I wouldn't like that. But they've deserved it all year. If their second string and their first string wouldn't have got hurt, they'd be right up there sitting at number 2 probably. Or number 3. So, I don't know who's going to win those games. I might do a video of it when the time comes and I know who exactly is going to play in it. I will do a video on it. You can count on that. And sitting at number 5, we have Arizona. Sitting at number 6, we have Mississippi State, because all those teams have lost and they're still up there. But I have Oregon losing to Arizona. Florida State loses to Georgia Tech. And that's how it happened, okay? And this is why Mississippi State is sitting at number 6, because they played a good schedule all year. If Ohio State would drop back, Mississippi State would be right there, maybe at number 5. And if TCU or Baylor lost somehow, Mississippi State would be right back in there in that 4 position. Because their schedule, they beat LSU, they beat Texas A&M, Auburn, they beat Arkansas. And Arkansas is a good ball team because they have not got blown out all year. They've just been running it at them all year. And they're tough to beat. They beat LSU. Their defense did awesome in that game. They beat Ole Miss. They killed Ole Miss. And Ole Miss just beat Mississippi State. But we're talking about Mississippi State. We're talking about Arkansas. But Arkansas, they're a good ball team. And I think the committee would know that. And Mississippi State's beat Arkansas. They barely beat them. And it makes Mississippi State look good because they beat those teams. Barely lost to the number 1 team in the country. And they've lost to Ole Miss, which Ole Miss has beat the number 1 team in the country. So Mississippi State could be right back up there in the Final Four. Don't think they're out because they're not. They're still fairly in it. Okay? And I am going to end this video and tell you who I think is going to be in the top 10 when the time comes to the Final Four and the championship when we're doing the bowl games. I'll tell you the top 10. I'm going to end this and I'll be right back. It'll be like a split second for you, but it's going to be like 30 minutes for me. Alright guys, I'm back and I've found out it's pretty hard because you got to find out who's playing who, when to play. Well, not really when they play, but who's playing who, and if they lose, they get dropped back, and if they win, it's confusing. I may have messed up on this, but I think I may have done it right. But, you know, here's the standings, okay? The top 10. I would have number 1, you've already heard this, Bama, TCU, Baylor, and then Ohio State. Then checking in at number 5, I got Arizona because they just beat Auburn. And they jumped up. And they beat Arizona State. They beat Oregon. And they jumped up to 5. Okay? And then Mississippi State, they dropped back to like 8. But then some teams lost. And then they go right back up to 6. And then sitting there at 7 is Oregon. They dropped back to like 9. But then some teams lost. And they had to come back up to... And then number 8 is Florida State, because I just expected them to lose 1 and then drop back right there. And then number 9, Michigan State, they just get there for doing nothing, because they're already there. And number 10, Kansas State, they're kind of doing the same thing. All they got to do is beat people. And then what if Arizona don't beat Oregon? Here it is, right here. And the Final Four to have Bama versus Baylor. That's Bama number 1, Baylor number 4, and then Oregon versus TCU. So that'd probably end up Bama versus Oregon. So number 1, Bama, 2, Oregon, 3, TCU, 4, Baylor, 5, Ohio State, 6, Mississippi State, 7, Florida State, 8, Michigan State, 9, Kansas State, and 10, Georgia Tech. Because they just beat Florida State, and then they've beat Georgia, and then they just jump up to 10 because all those teams lost. Okay, it gets real hard down here because you really got to survive these conference championships. You can go undefeated all year beating these crappy teams, but then when you get to the conference championship, you're going to get in there with someone who's also beat maybe some better teams, and they're just going to run straight over you because you have not played nobody. That's where a tough schedule comes in, and it really helps you. Okay, that's pretty much it. Next one I'll do, it may, in case something like comes to my mind, and I'm like, well, I'm going to make a YouTube video about that. The next one should be the predicting the bowl games. Okay? And that's pretty much it. Subscribe to my other channels. And like this one. Subscribe to me, this channel. That's pretty much it. Bye.